It's just setting up. Okay. Hold on, just checking a few things. If we are live, bear with us for a second. I want to make sure it's all streaming here. Setting up. Yeah, okay. I think we are live. So, hey everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for our first live stream. We are live. Bear with us for a second. I want to make sure it's all. I'm getting feedback from somebody. Setting up. So anyway, let's dive in. So welcome everybody to Choose Inclusion's first live stream. And we're doing a special segment, hashtag Black Voices Matter. We really wanted to figure out how we could act, right, and support what's happening right now to our fellow Black human beings and Americans, and how we could, listen and learn and understand and support what's happening. And the idea actually came about from Lex Gillette. So we had Lex on the show. We did a recording with Lex last Friday. Lex is a blind Black Paralympian, 4 medals, was getting ready to go to Tokyo this year, pushed back till next year. He's also a motivational speaker and a diversity and inclusion champion. And he reached out to me in the middle of the night on Monday, because he, after everything that has been going on over this past week, and everything that's sort of setting into all of us, he wanted to have a redo of sorts and have a discussion specifically about what's going on. And so first of all, welcome Mike and Nina. The team is here as well, and welcome back, Lex. And
hey, what's going on?
Thank you. Yeah, man. Well, first of all, how are you? Like, what's going on? What's going through your mind?
Before I even start, I just want to send my condolences to George Floyd's family, especially. I can't even begin to imagine what they may be dealing with and feeling that at this particular time. So certainly want to send my condolences, thoughts and prayers to the family. And yeah, we had a really great chat, right? And over the past couple of days, things have transpired, and we've heard and seen many of things on social media, on national media, and it's just really set in for me. And the first thing that comes to mind is you hear a lot of people say things like, I wish that, I just saw something that I wish that I could unsee. And for me right now, I wish that I could unhear something that I heard. And what I'm talking about specifically is the video online of George Floyd's murder. To literally listen to this man pleading and screaming for his life, that was troubling. It was what that cop did was absolutely despicable. I mean, it's disgusting, egregious. We can put so many different words in that space, and for sure, yes, I'm glad that he was arrested. He should be tried. I think that he should be convicted of murder. I wasn't, as someone who's blind, I couldn't obviously take in the visual elements of the video, but it sounds like there were a number of cops who were there as well, who saw everything taking place. I feel like there has to be consequences for them as well. And it's just, it's it's tough to think about and hear his voice echoing within within my mind. That screaming was just, there's no way that should have happened to him. Um, and the sad thing about it is a movie that we've all seen before, right? You have a white cop, person who's black, and for whatever reason, the cop feels as though they are being threatened. They feel as though the black person is resisting arrest. And next thing you know, the black person ends up losing their life. And we're just at the point now where it has to stop. It really has to stop. And so when I woke up in the middle of the night, I literally was like, wow, this is absolutely insane. This uncalled for. It's happened too many times. I mean, you can't even. You had the gentleman who was jogging in Georgia. You had the young lady in Kentucky. You had Eric Garner, the young man in New York. There's many of examples that we can point to that have made it to, the front page, national media, social media, and there's many more that haven't made it to that point that we've been able to see and hear. And so it just, for me, when I hear all of the voices crying out, it's sad. It's sad. And so it just really hit me differently over the past few days. Again, I know we had an excellent chat, and we talked about it very briefly, but after everything really just started to really seep down deeper, I said this isn't really sitting well with me. People give me a lot of platforms to speak on the things about the things of how we can become the best people that we can be, being able to conquer challenges in life and get the most out of life. And I feel just as inclined to speak where I can on this particular topic, because in order for us to live our best lives, all of this poisonous mindset, this racist activity has to stop.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, Lex. I mean, I think that everything you said is just, it's a painful experience to watch it, and listen to it. What happened to George Floyd, and it's a systemic issue, right? Like these are not one-off incidents. Black people have been pushed to the margins of society. Companies and company culture continue to exacerbate it. Black people are constantly pushed aside and, are, don't have the privilege to live in this world. They have to survive in this world. I mean, how has the events of the last week kind of impacted your thoughts and ideas around the systemic issues surrounding this incident?
I mean, the interesting thing is that I've had a number of conversations with friends who I didn't even know they had been, victims of this type of activity. And to hear about what they've gone through has been saddening. I think even more than that, to know that, I'm only hearing this for the first time, and something within them didn't allow them to, kind of speak out on this. And so we see, the George Floyd situation and many of the other ones that have happened over the past some odd years. Now people are, feeling like super inclined to be able to say, hey, well, this is going on, this is happening. And that's not to say that measures up to a George Floyd or anyone that has lost their life, but just speaking on the fact that, people have been like, all right, well, I'll just keep quiet on this. So to learn about, the very people who are in my circle who have been, profiled, who have been discriminated against, who have been uh, wrongfully treated, it's just been, it's definitely a heartbreaker for sure.
We talked a little bit on Friday, your experience with racism growing up, because again, you're kind of at this unique intersection, being blind and being Black. And so, what was your experience with racism? We talked a little bit about your mom and whether she talked to you about that or not. Like what was your experience once you went blind at the age of 7 or 8? I can't remember, somewhere in there.
8.
8. Like what was your experience like from then on?
Yeah. Growing up in North Carolina, you can't be Black and not have the discussion on racism, especially, I grew up in, 90s and, 80s, 90s, and of course, my mom definitely made me aware of racism. And I would imagine that she probably has many of stories that she's, situations that she's had to deal with, things that I probably never will know about. But she let me know that, what, you're Black, and we live in America, is racism is real, but I still want you to go out into the world, and I want you to be your absolute best self. I want you to do everything humanly possible to get the most out of life, despite the fact that this sort of activity may happen to you. So, I can't say that it was always at the forefront of my mind, but of course I knew that, okay, well, there's a possibility that something could happen. And yeah, and that last chat we had, again, I had to think long and hard over these 35 years that I've been on planet Earth. And I'm thinking back to when I was in college, and there was a particular time that there was a group of friends and we went out, and we're in college, we go downtown, and we go to this club, and for whatever reason, the gentleman at the door didn't let us in. And I remember my buddy kind of, having a conversation with him. They're going back and forth. And then we just end up turning around and leaving. And I remember my friend saying, oh yeah, it's because we're Black. Excuse me. And the challenge for me is, being blind takes away that visual aspect, right? And so, I'm not able to see people's reactions and their demeanor and how they may look at you, or, any of those things. Now, granted, I do, I can hear very well, and, I hear people say this, that, and the third. But I would definitely say that there's a different type of response that you can get from a person when you can visually see what's going on. So yeah, like I remember what my buddy had said, as we left that establishment, and wherever we went after that. But again, I was still trying to figure out, all right, well, like, what happened? What happened for it to get to that point? So, as I continue to maneuver through life, again, I'm not oblivious to racism, and I'm certainly not tone deaf to it, because I believe that it is, it's alive and well, and we've seen it, and we continue to see it. And George Floyd, unfortunately, is just another, another example. But it's certainly a different experience being being blind on top of, checking that box of being Black. And in a lot of ways, I mean, if you think about it, in order to receive this sort of treatment, it seems like you only have to check that one box that, I'm Black. I'm Black. That's the box that you have to check. And so for me, for someone who loves to be out in the community, who loves to be out in the city and interacting with others, the reality is, yes, I am Black. So who's to say that I'm not, that type of activity can't happen to me? And then you think about it even further, and it's like, well, geez, if it does, if something like that did happen, the sad part about it is I literally wouldn't even be able to see it coming.
Well, I think one of the interesting things that we're seeing, and I had to do a little research on this after our call, Lex, last time when we talked, was what is the intersectionality of police shootings with disability, with people with disabilities? And, one of the things I learned pretty quickly was that there's a disproportionately high number of people with disabilities who are shot by the police.
Mm.
And you take that and you layer on the fact that disproportionately number of Black people are also shot by the police, and you're at the intersection of these two identities, of these two communities.
That's scary. I mean, that's I didn't know that, and that's frightening to hear.
Really sorry, I don't. I didn't want to put that in your face.
Yeah.
Means.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, you know what? Yeah. I mean, as frightening as it is, again, my character and who I am stems from the environment that my mom established for me growing up. And I'm going to continue to go out there and do what I can to get the most out of life. I'm going to continue to go out there and continue to motivate and inspire as many people as possible. And as it relates to this situation right here, you can certainly grab many more people who are more knowledgeable about the specifics of the George Floyd case or the Eric Garner case or the Amari case. And you can find many of people who know the total ins and outs. But again, I'm given this platform to speak out about a lot of things. And so similar to that, similar to what I was taught and what my mom gave me as a young child growing up, where I can use my voice as a tool, I'm going to do that. So yeah, I mean, that's definitely, it's frightening and things like that, but I still have a job to do, to go out into the community and be able to, inspire, motivate, and help people where I can.
That's awesome. Yeah. So, I mean, I guess a follow-up question is really around, what do you think people should be doing? I think a lot of people are kind of feeling helpless, are probably feeling, a lot of people are feeling angry or hurt. A lot of emotions happening in a wide spectrum of them. But I think there are a large amount of people that are trying to figure out, what can I do to change what's happening? Do you have any thoughts on like things that individuals can do, or you think companies can do, or, local government, anyone,
Yeah, I think that, and please don't take it, out of context, because it's certainly not the absolute same thing. But one of the things that I deal with a lot as a person who's blind is that people are just afraid to have conversations. They're afraid to ask questions. It's a new situation for them, so they literally don't know what to do. And I always encourage people to, let's just have a conversation about the situation. I'm totally comfortable in my skin. I've been living without sight for almost 30 years. and I'm totally fine with it, and I want you to be fine with it as well. So let's have a conversation. You ask me questions, I can give you responses and replies and information that will shed light on how we can work effectively together. So when you think about it from a race standpoint, uh, first and foremost, one of the things I wanted to mention also is I have we're talking about the situation. I have a lot of friends who, um, a lot of friends and colleagues who just so happen to be white, and I have great relationships with them, and they don't subscribe to racism. Again, the reality is there's a lot of white people in America who do subscribe to it. But I think that, um, individuals like my friends who I just mentioned, and those who are on those front lines, first and foremost, salute to you guys. We need as much support and as many voices as possible to help in this battle. Um, but we need to have those conversations and not be afraid to have those conversations, and know that sometimes it might get a little uncomfortable, but if we can speak on it with the intent of coming to an understanding, then I believe that is one of the most important pieces to it. We have to get to this point where you understand you know what it is from our perspective, and the things that can be done to help eradicate this racist mindset. And quite honestly, I think sometimes people are just a little fearful to have those conversations because they're like, oh, okay, well, I don't want to say anything that's wrong. I don't want to offend you, blase, blase, blah. But if you come to me and you say that, hey, um, I want to get this right. This is wrong. The treatment of black people in America is absolutely is terrible. We need to change this. Let's get it right. Can we sit down and have a decent conversation about this? Then you know what? I think that that's the door opening to saying, all right, let's let's come together. Let's put our minds together and let's hash this out so we can come to so you can understand, and so we can you can take that information and utilize that in being able to remove this this racist mindset and this outlook on our people, on black people.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I think in that conversation, is, I think, something that we've all been trying to do, particularly the last 4 years. Um, what are your thoughts on, the protests and the riots? Like what, because there's certainly a ton of opinions out there on all of
Yeah.
that stuff. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
uh I mean, my personal thoughts are, in terms of like, burning up things and breaking into businesses and things like that. I wouldn't say that is the way to go. um I think as an extension to that, you you hear from, it's like, okay, well, we've tried to peacefully protest for X number of years, and we've tried to make our voices heard for X number of years, and um, this is the route that they're like, okay, I'm trying to be heard. We're trying to be heard. Um, Again, I'm not really the type of person that wants to go out and kind of um, set things afire or loot or anything like that. Um, but on the flip side, it's like you see where it's coming from. It's like we've been trying to get our voices heard for X number of years and nobody's been listening. So if no one's going to listen, then we're gonna go take it to the next level. But I know I personally hope that things can calm down as it relates to that type of activity, because I certainly, we still have to live here at the end of the day. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's such a, but that's exactly how I feel, and I think that's, how a lot of people don't understand that, there's a whole community of people who've been screaming at the top of their lungs for so long. Like that pressure can only, stay in for so long.
Yeah.
And it's a cry, like it's a cry for help here.
Right. And the other thing I think about too is, again, circling back to the blind aspect, I only wonder how much stronger it would impact me or hit me if I could have the visual aspect to match up with the audio. I hear the glass breaking and I hear people screaming and I hear the rubber bullets being shot, and all of that hits me a certain way. But I also think about, like how would this situation be? I can only imagine what it would be and what it would feel like if I could see literally what was going on. It just makes you think.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I mean, Mike, because I know, we've talked a little bit this week, and I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Like, as everybody knows, Mike is the blind guy on the team, and what are your thoughts on that, Mike?
Well, it's exactly what Lex talked about. There are some things that there's it's called an earworm. You get a song stuck in your head and it just keeps playing. And so when you hear the atrocity that took place to George Floyd, there's a soundtrack that just is my soul hurts that a human being, and I totally get, I've got white privilege. I've been told I'm Caucasian, but I've felt the sting of discrimination being blind my entire life. And a human being is a human being first and foremost to me. And so my soul hurts to know that people who were who took the oath to serve and protect would do that to a completely a human being that was obviously disarmed. I mean, I was told that the visual is he's on his belly with his hands handcuffed behind his back, and I trained in martial arts a long time, and I got to tell you, like, if you've got somebody in that kind of a position, there's no reason other than being malicious to put your knee on somebody's neck like that. So it just hurts my soul. It really does, because I don't know how I can contribute to this conversation other than just condolences, because this topic is really heavy for me, and I knew it would be, but I'm thrilled to hear Lex talk and just listen.
Yeah, and it's like, and when you listen to Mike say, we count on these people to protect and serve, and I'm sorry, I'm not. We count on police officers to protect and serve, and so when he said that, I think about being a child in elementary school, and we used to we would say the pledge before the school day started. And I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, the last bit of that, one nation under God, indivisible. I mean, we're obviously divided right now with liberty and justice for all. And there's obviously the justice isn't there for us right now. And so it's like, all right, you know, I grew up saying this. What does it actually mean? Or I know what it means, but it doesn't appear to apply to me and my people. You know what I'm saying? And again, you know, I always want to reiterate, I know that everyone doesn't have that mindset. But we've just seen so many instances of it happening that it's like, when does it end? Because there's a large group of people in America who do have that type of outlook on us.
Yeah, I'm with Mike. I'm like, I think that's a great place to leave it. I mean, Lex, what are some parting words? You know, I think, we just want to hear from you. Like, what are some parting words that people can use constructively? And I think that we're big on action, and people want to know like what they can do.
You know, I'll just circle back to what I had touched on earlier, and just literally having conversations surrounding this, really like thoughtful, serious, genuine conversations surrounding this matter, because it is, you know, there's a lot of people out there who are afraid, a lot of people who are scared, rightfully so. I mean, we're living in a world now where literally something can get posted and it can get shared at the drop of a hat. So you can see that bam, 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 very quickly. And so, you know, I think about the friends that I do have who, you know, who are white, and yeah, like we have conversations around this. It's okay. Like, you can talk about it. I mean, as long as the sole intent is to come to, you know, a solution, like, let's talk about it. Let's figure it out. It may get a little uncomfortable at times. That's okay. But the intent is to come to a solution so that we can live within the boundaries of this country and this world together peacefully, so that we can love each other, so that we can, you know, at the end of the day, understand that, okay, it's cool. Like, okay, you're white, I'm black, you're brown, whatever color you are. Like, we can live within the boundaries of this earth, and love each other, be connected, help each other. And I mean, that's really all it is. But we have to get to the point where we can eradicate this mindset of, okay, well, you look like this, so you must act like this, or I must treat you like this. Like, that has no place in America. That has no place on this earth. And the sooner that we can, you know, talk about these things and gain a better understanding, I think is, when we'll actually be able to make some progress. Because again, there's so many people out here who, they want to understand and they want to help, but there are, a lot of people out here, they don't want to understand, and they want to continue to put their knee on the neck of Black people, and that's not what we need. Absolutely not, because that is despicable. That's just trash.
So perfectly said, Lex. I think you encompassed everything in those final words. And thank you so much for your graciousness and the vulnerability you brought today. These are hard topics to talk about, and we really appreciate you coming here and honestly sparking us to come together and have these hard conversations. Because of you, we are actually going to be hosting a series of these conversations with Black leaders like yourself to bring their perspectives and elevate their voices and amplify their voices, because that's what we need right now. And I think the graciousness and vulnerability you showed today was so powerful. And so thank you again for joining us.
I appreciate you, Nina, UB, Mike. Thank you so much. I'm so used to getting on stage and speaking on topics on the other end of the spectrum, but this is just as important, if not more important, because at the end of the day, we can all live and thrive within this country and this world together, and that's the world that I want to see, because it doesn't matter what we look, our gender, our any of those things. It doesn't really matter. Like, diversity is amazing, because each of us has something uniquely special to offer the world, and we deserve to be able to put that in the world so that we can push things forward and make this place a better space for everyone to live and thrive in.
Well said, sir. Well, thank you again.
Thank you, Lex.
Thank you to our listeners, and we are going to sign off, but we'll be stay tuned on our Twitter and LinkedIn pages to find out about our upcoming episodes. Thank you again, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.